All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hello.
We're getting a slight late start today, just a little bit. Hello, Ornella, and Timmy, and Zadie, and Mahmoud, and Kiara. Hello. Hello, Jessica, and Bonnie, and Yang, and Vibha, and Lemon, and Brun. I'm okay, Viba. How are you?
Doing well.
Good. So we are having English Q&A session. Q&A means question and answer. So if you have questions, then we will try to have answers. Can I explain the difference between has and had? Muzaffar, that's a pretty kind of a long question, to be honest with you. Like, there's a lot of parts to that, but let me see if I can give you something that might help you with that. One moment.
Yeah, because both can be kind of used in
Yeah, right.
in different tenses.
That's right. Yeah.
Has, I guess, more so.
Okay, so we're talking about, you said has and had, right? Yeah. So let me find a good question or a good page for you to help you with that. This one looks pretty good. That's probably a good exercise. Yeah, this has got answers too. Okay, so here is a good page for you for that.
Yeah, and I guess generally has is present and had is past, but not always.
Right,
and they
exactly.
Can have, and they can definitely
It depends
have,
on what tense it is.
Yeah, and they can even have has can sort of be in different places as well.
Right. Yeah. So that's why that's a good website that'll give you some exercises. Right. Has is used for present perfect and had is used for past perfect. That's right. Yeah. But that's why I said, Kiara, it's kind of a long. If I have to explain what present perfect is and what past perfect is, and then, that takes a little bit of a long time. So generally, when I try to answer grammar questions here, I try to answer ones that would not take up 30 minutes, because that's like, if you have a question that big, then you should buy a lesson.
Right.
But if you have a question that's kind of like a 5-minute, 10-minute question, that's one thing. That's no problem. But if I want to explain the entirety of present perfect and past perfect and have and has and had, that's going to take a good 30 minutes at least. So, yeah. But I'm happy to give a website that will show you what you need so that you can do some self-study. Yeah. But thank you for the help with that, Kiara. I appreciate that. I should have said at least that much. So thank you for that. Hello, Mona.
Hi, Mona.
How are you? Good to see you. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to feel like I'm like telling people that I won't answer their questions. But
some require longer explanations and just more kind of time than we have.
Right.
And some individual sort of attention as well.
That's exactly right. Yeah, if it's a question that sounds like it's a long question that requires a lot of individual attention, then that's best. That's something that you should try to get a private lesson for, which you can buy from me.
Do it now.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, let's see. I found the expression door prize that I'd never met before. What's the origin of door prize? That's a good question.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know what it means, but you're entered to win a prize just by attending the event.
Let's see.
But yeah, I'm curious where that phrase comes from.
It's unclear when the phrase door prize was first implemented. The first documentation and practice is found in a book called The Carpet Trade in 1867. The practice became popular in the United States of America in the 1950s during the growth of the American Consumer Society following World War II.
So it's fairly recent then, yeah, as far as language goes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, what is a door prize? A door prize is a prize that you get when you enter. You know, when they meet, right? So if you come to a meeting or whatever, it's a random prize that's given to somebody who showed up.
Yeah,
that's it.
Our church used to have big Halloween parties, and then if you attended the Halloween party, you had a chance to win the door prize. They'd give you a ticket as you came in, and the door prize would be some type of gift
so
basket
they'll give
or
you a
something
ticket
like
with
that.
a number on it, right? You hold on to your ticket, and at the end of the event, they might announce on stage, you know, number 0167, you know, and they'll say, you win, and that's your door prize, you know. Yeah. Hello, Fatika from Kazakhstan. Hello, Rada. The topic is English. Or life, whichever one suits you. You have an interview, you're anxious. Don't worry, Mona, you're going to kill it.
Yeah.
You're going to kill it. Don't worry. And hello, Cheetah. Good to see you over there in YouTube. What's the relationship between English and life?
I use it in my life every day.
Right. Yeah, well, that depends on your life.
Yeah.
Right. English may have absolutely no relationship
That's true.
in your life.
It's a sliding scale.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Hello, Nora Dean. Good to see you, my friend.
Hello, Nordine.
And if you would like to come on stage, you are welcome to. And I am kind of giving Clay the reins today. To give the reins is a phrase, an English idiom. To give the reins. The reins are the leather straps that control a horse. When you're riding a horse, you hold on to the reins to control the horse. So when we say I'm giving the reins or I'm giving him the reins, it means I'm letting him control. I'm letting him drive, essentially. Yeah. Sometimes we actually have a modern version of that. I'm giving him the keys.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah, Jesus, take the wheel. Right. Yeah, that's a little different.
It's a little different.
Yeah. But I'm giving him the keys is like I'm giving him the reins, which means today I'm going to try to support him being more of the teacher today to get a little more experience for him. So, ask your questions of Teacher Clay. Okay?
Muzaffar, are you asking about what does it mean to grab something? To grab something would be to hold it like this. I grabbed this mug. I'm grabbing this mug to have a drink.
Yeah, grab is a motion that's similar to grasp.
Yes.
To grasp and to grab is this.
Yeah.
But grab also has the meaning of to get something.
Yes.
Right? I'm going to grab something to eat
Yeah.
means I'm going to get something to eat. I'm going to grab a book.
Grab a cab.
Grab a cab,
taxi.
right?
Yeah.
Grab some food, grab a, whatever, something, grab a snack.
Yeah.
But if I do this, I am grabbing my microphone, right? So there's two kind of meanings for grab. One has to do more with grasping something to
literally grab it.
Wrap it with your hand would be to grab something, right? But the other meaning is to get.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you understand that, Muzaffar?
Give us your questions.
Come on. Oh, we don't look at the camera. It's just over there. So we are looking here at the chat. So
we don't look at the camera because if we put the camera in front of us where we are right here, this is where we're looking. If we put the camera here, it's too close, and we have to get in like this in order for the camera to get both of us. So we put the camera further away and at an angle so that you can see both of us at the same time. Yep. Yeah, that's why.
I'll look in the camera now, though.
Yeah, we occasionally look over there. And it is like a talk show.
It is.
That's what we're doing.
We'll bring
it's
up
a talk
guests
show.
even.
That's right. Yeah. I forgot my audience button though today.
I was gonna say
my audience button.
I'm the Andy Richter.
Yeah, right. Well, today I'm the Andy Richter.
Well, yeah. That's right. What is the difference between for you and to you? Well, for you would be something that is to you implies that it's given to you. Whereas for you may just be something, this snack is for me, whereas this snack is to you would be someone giving something to you. And for you can be used in that context as well. I got this gift for you, but I'm going to give this gift to you. I'm trying to figure out kind of the educational
the academic way to put it.
Academic way to put it.
Wait a minute here, I'll give you that.
For example,
to is talking about transferring something, right?
Right.
So to discuss the actual action of giving or transferring is to, right? To you. Right? Let me give this to you. Okay?
Yeah, that's a good example there. I'm happy for you and to give something to you.
Right.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, when you discuss using for you is you're discussing the reason why something was given or transferred.
Right.
Or in general, for you, this is for you.
Yeah.
It just means it is yours, right? It was meant for you. But here's the thing, Viba. For and to, those are prepositions, and so the problem is prepositions in English have many uses and meanings. And that's why they're difficult, right? Because I could say above the TV, on the TV. Which one is which? What are they the same? Is it? And it is kind of the same in certain situations. But I could say the clock is above the TV. It doesn't mean it's on the TV.
Yeah.
Right? So those types of words have some
context is important.
Yeah, context is important, and because there's so many different uses, you just need a lot of practice with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To see where where it gets used most.
Right. Yeah. How do you explain the sentence, thanks to God? Well, we don't usually say thanks to God. We just say thank God.
Yeah, thank God.
And how to explain it? There is no explaining it.
Yeah,
it's just a sign of relief.
Yeah, it's just an old religious phrase. Thank God that whatever it is turned out okay, or you're thanking God for something good happening.
Right, and which again, every culture had this thanks to the gods for whatever you imagine that's good that happened. Mm-hmm. Right.
Past indefinite and present perfect. That one.
Yeah, that's
one I will defer.
That's a complicated one.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. So the only difference really between past indefinite, so past indefinite it's an action that ended in the past, but it's not important in the present time. That's a very specific
That is
grammar
incredibly
question.
specific. Yeah.
That's a very specific grammar question. So words like yesterday, before, ago, last are used, right?
Okay.
So, and it's talking about habits often as well. We often use words like generally, always, often, usually. So in that case, it just means that you're talking generally about something in time, so that means that the current time doesn't really have any importance in what you're discussing. You're just speaking generally about something in the past in that way, okay? But that's a pretty specific question. Kiara, you look, there you go. Kiara's on it again. Kiara, maybe you should be doing my job. Yeah, so fundamental aspects of English verb system used to express different time, different relationships. I wouldn't call them, well, let's put it this way. Simple past is what we call past indefinite most of the time, right? So, and I don't think it really has any value anymore to call it past indefinite.
No.
Because that just seems more confusing. Mm-hmm. When you just say simple past and present, simple past and present perfect, it makes more sense. And then all you need to do is remember that simple past is just the past, and present perfect is talking about something that happened in the past and was completed in the past, right? So, perfect means completed in Latin, right? So present perfect actually means present completed, right? So, yeah. There's nothing like some good, difficult grammar questions in the morning.
Yeah, those are good ones.
Yeah. You're making me look bad, Kiara. It's too early for these questions. Who looks like Leonardo? I don't think either of us look like Leonardo. Yeah.
He acted in the Titanic movie, you know. Yep.
He does have a dad bod now, and I do kind of have that.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Maybe you're talking about me.
Yeah, we both date supermodels.
Oh, you guys with the grammar questions this morning. What are you guys doing to me? No, Kiara. I was only kidding with you. I'm perfectly happy to have you here helping with some of these grammar questions, which, to be honest with you, I don't want to really even answer. So no, you're more than welcome to chime in with whatever.
It's almost just test stuff, you know. That's
right.
The only I mean, once you grasp the language anyway, you do need to, I guess, know it when learning. But
right. Yeah.
Once you're applying it, it's not as necessary to know.
Okay, so we have a couple people asking about I had been and I have been and have.
Yeah.
Again, those are actually fairly big grammar questions that would require me to give you a full lesson about present and simple past and present perfect and all of that, which would take a little while. So let me ask you guys a question. Wait a minute. Let me ask you this first. Instead of asking questions like, what's the difference between this and this, or can you explain this? How about you ask me a question that tells me what you're confused about?
Right.
Right? Instead of just asking me to explain a general principle to you, tell me what you're confused about, and then I can
pinpoint the answer.
Right.
Yeah, it is kind of hard with these big, very general questions.
Right, and that's why
know what you need to.
Not to mention that I also insist that you do the learning first. right? You have to do the learning first. If you're just coming to me and you want me to teach you, buy my lessons. If you want me to teach you, then you have to pay me. If you want me to answer a simple question, then you can ask a simple question. But so stop with the general huge questions that are about grammar that require lessons. Just tell me what you're confused about, and then I can help you try to sort that out.
That one's better. When are you going to use I have had?
Okay. All right. So
use it in quite a few contexts, but
yeah, right. But I mean, I think what she's trying to say is what tense is it? That's simple present perfect.
Right.
So, yeah. This is why I love English, though, because when they explain something, right? So here's what it says here is the form of the present perfect tense is have plus the past participle. Here, have is an ordinary verb, whereas past participle is a form of the verb which is not independent in nature.
Oh, so simple. Now I understand.
Right, yeah. Don't you hate that about grammar?
It's terrible.
It is absolutely ridiculous.
Terrible.
It's why I love to use the word complexify.
Yeah, it's like, why use a complete lingo that's only really used and structures that's only used to describe that as, and it's something to do with language. Why would you want to complexify it and confuse it? Yeah,
well, because again, I think that for a long time, language was power. That's right. It's gatekeeping. Yeah,
I agree with that. I definitely.
But now that English is an international language, those
time to open the gates up.
Right, those things still exist. And they're gatekeeping the language when they describe it that way, which is why I have so many people coming here to ask me to explain things.
Right.
Because when they go and try to read that,
it makes no sense.
That may as well be Greek.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that doesn't even make much sense to
a native speaker.
90% of native English speakers.
Yeah, unless you're an English teacher.
Yeah.
Right? Using lingo, extra lingo. The more lingo you add, the more confusion you add.
Right.
You're
not simplifying something. Like I've asked a question to try to get a simple answer, and it gives you more questions.
Yeah, right. Again, let's see. Let me find a good page for you for that. Okay, so when you're using have had, you think about things that you've experienced before, okay? So things like, I have had the time of my life traveling around the world, or I have had some of the best food in my city.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've had haggis before.
Right, I have had... let's see.
I've had a great time.
Yeah, I've had the time of my life teaching English.
That's the old Groucho Marx. I've had the time of my life, but this wasn't it.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Yeah. So have had is for that, right? Have had is common during job interviews, right? So they want to know what experiences you have had, right?
Mm-hmm. Have you had any prior experience? A lot of the time.
If you're just using have, right? I have a lot of homework. That's present tense. I have had a lot of homework this week is present perfect tense, right? So I have simple present, right? I have had a lot of homework this week or this year is present perfect tense. Yeah. So, and when you have present perfect tense, you're talking about something that happened in the past all the way up until now. Right? It's completed until now. Right? So you're talking about 2 time periods. Simple past is only talking about the past, 1 time period. Present perfect is talking about the past all the way up until bing, now, 2 time periods. Okay? So let me try to give you this link here. This is a good link that can help you explain more about that. Why do I keep doing that?
What's happening?
I'm trying to copy the page, and it keeps going to something else. Oh. Okay, here we go. I feel very argumentative about grammar, though, sometimes.
Well, I mean, it can be anger-inducing.
Well, it can. And I still stand by the fact that grammar is the #1 reason why people hate languages, including me. Mm-hmm. especially English grammar, of all the grammars, especially English grammar, because I think that might be something slightly unique. I could be wrong. I don't know how much gatekeeping happens in other languages, is what I mean.
Well,
like, I feel like other languages, when somebody wants to learn another language, nobody's trying to stop you from learning it or trying to overcomplicate, make it more complicated than it needs to be. But English, I still feel like
it's a bit of the air of we need to gatekeep it by making it only so that small percentage of people can actually understand what we're writing.
Right, past participle is always one of my favorite words.
It's like you said, language is power, and that's what they want to protect.
So there you go, is a good have had, has had, page there. Right. And Kiara says, yes, and some hesitate to speak English for grammatical mistakes. That's what I talk about all the time here,
that's
Kiara.
Why we don't like it.
That's why I hate grammar, because grammar is the number one reason people hate learning languages, and also it's the number one reason people are afraid to practice speaking, because they're afraid to make mistakes. So when people ask me, is grammar important? Here's the answer you need, everybody. Listen to this. If you ask me, is grammar important, if you're taking a test like the IELTS test or the TOEFL test, then yes, grammar is important. If you're in school studying in high school or college, grammar is important. If you're at work and maybe your job uses English, you need to write emails or you need to write business documents of some sort, grammar is important. But if you're not at work and you're not at school and you're not taking a test, then no, it's not that freaking important.
No.
Relax. And stop worrying about grammar. Stop worrying about things like these crazy questions that,
had and haven't had.
Right. To be honest with you,
you could probably do away with those words.
You could.
You could. Fine.
And so that is the thing about English grammar is I do feel that when it comes to time, English does detail time more accurately than some other languages do. Right? So Chinese, for example.
Well, there's a specificity to the language in general.
Right. Like we have 16 different tenses or whatever, and they don't have any of those. So in that sense, English can give you a more accurate description of something. However, in terms of time. However, that doesn't mean, like if I translated that into another language, they might not use any of those tense words and still communicate the same information fine. Right? So,
and Chinese grammar has some complicated things, but overall it's much simpler.
Much simpler.
And the language in general, it's just easier to grasp the the way that things come out, because you sort of call and response sort of thing to a lot of that grammar.
Right. And again, and Ornella said once you learn a rule, there's immediately an exception to that rule in Italian too. So that's what I tell people is English is not a language of rules. English is a language of exceptions.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Because that's true.
Yeah.
Almost every rule I've ever heard is not a rule.
No, it's
there
not.
There are exceptions to it, one or many more.
How do they reconcile that with themselves? Who knows?
Right, yeah. Hello, Islam. Good to see you again.
Hey, Islam.
Is there any schedule to catch my streams? Alessia, kind of. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday around this time is usually when Clay and I are here. Occasionally I do some other streams or voice rooms myself as well. Can I tell you some other funny idioms related to the weather? Sure.
Yeah. Trying to think of one.
Dry as a bone.
Dry as a bone.
Come rain or shine. Under the weather. Take a rain check.
Storms brewing.
Get wind of. The calm before the storm. Okay, so come rain or shine. If I say, I'm going to this baseball game, come rain or shine, it means I don't care if it rains or if it's sunny, I'm going to this baseball game. I will sit in the rain to watch this game. That's how much I want to be there. So come rain or shine is something that you say when no matter what the weather is going to be or the circumstances are, you're going to be there. Okay? You're telling somebody for sure you're going to be there, right? or you're doing something, right? Under the weather is an idiom that involves weather. It means you feel sick.
Yeah.
If you say, I feel under the weather, and under the weather is actually from boats.
I was just about to ask where that comes from.
So that one comes from boats. A long time ago, if you were sick on a ship, then you would hide either in the bow or underneath
and avoid the weather.
Right. So
Yes.
you would be out from under the weather, right? Yeah. Let's see. There's some other ones here. Take a rain check.
Yeah.
You want to explain that one?
Yeah, to take a rain check. I'm not sure exactly where it comes from, but it means
It's from baseball, I think, again.
Oh, I see. Yes,
Yeah.
because if they would play a baseball game and it would rain,
That's
then
right.
the game would be rained out and they would not play.
They'd give you
And
a ticket to come
they'd
back
give
for
you
another
a
day.
rain check to come back, and that's what a rain check is. It means if someone invited me out to go to dinner and I said, no, I can't, but I'll take a rain check. That means that next time I will, it's
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
You can't now, but you'd love to in
Right.
the future.
Yes.
That's I'll take a rain check, or you could just say, "Hey, rain check."
Yeah.
and that just means hey,
Yeah.
I'm sorry I can't now, but I would love to some other time in the
Yes. Mm-hmm.
future to take a rain check. Let's see, what else do we have? To get wind of something. To get wind of something
to
is
hear
one
a
that means
rumor.
to hear a rumor,
Yeah.
as though the rumor is floating on the wind and you heard it in the wind, right?
a little birdie told me.
That's right. The calm before the storm.
Yeah, that's probably from seafaring as well.
It is,
I would
right?
imagine.
Yeah.
And that just means that everything seems like it's right just before everything
That's
gets
right.
gets bad.
Just before a big
Yeah.
storm happens on the ocean, sometimes the waters are very, very still and calm, and there's no wind, and then all of a sudden, boom,
Yeah.
it's a big storm, right? So the calm before the storm, it's like a foreboding.
Mm-hmm.
It's a feeling that makes you feel like,
There's a suspicion.
something
Yeah.
big that's dark is coming soon. That's the calm before the storm. Okay, let's do one more. Let's see. Which one do you want to do?
The silver lining or chase rainbows. I like either of those. But I guess they're not quite weather.
Yeah, some of them are somewhat weather.
When it rains, it pours.
Oh,
That's like a different than what.
Yeah, no, that's a good one, though. When it rains, it pours.
Yeah.
When it rains, it pours means when things are bad, sometimes they're really bad, right? So if bad things keep happening to you, you lost your wallet and then you fell down in the mud, and then someone accidentally tripped over you, and then if all these things keep happening to you, you just keep saying, hey, when it rains it pours.
Yeah, and we say, if it's just raining, we wouldn't say it's pouring outside. But if it's really raining hard and there's a ton of
That's
rain,
right,
then we
it's
would say
pouring.
it's pouring outside.
That's right, yeah.
Like from a pitcher.
That's right. Yeah. So there you go, Ornella. We usually we usually start our live streams around 9 a.m., 9:30 a.m., which is New York City time. So that's 9:30 p.m. in China. Hello, Jesus Jimenez.
Hello.
Do I know about the upcoming National Day in China? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
No.
What's
I
happening?
Wasn't paying attention. I generally don't really pay too much attention to national holidays of any sort,
Yeah,
really,
and-
other than being off work.
Yeah.
But for me, that never matters anyway.
Right, yeah. Yeah, when I worked in the casino business, we never got holidays off. It's 24/7
yeah.
business. That's why I'm happy to work where I work now.
Right. What's the difference between speed and pace?
Speed your pace can be slow or fast. So, and I guess your speed could be slow or fast, but when you think of speed,
I think that this is one where sometimes they could mean the same
they
thing.
can mean the same thing.
So sometimes, I say, what was his speed or what was his pace?
Yeah.
That would be the same question. But I think I would say Well, let me look at something. I'm curious about one thing.
If you're on the roadways and you're going over the speed limit, then you would be considered speeding. But that's not always.
Pace comes from the Latin word passus, which means your step or stride.
Okay.
So
how far each
you're
step
walking,
is.
right?
Yeah,
That's
pace.
right. Yeah, how far the stretch of your stride is.
Yeah.
Speed. I think speed and pace both can mean the same thing sometimes. Pace sometimes is referring to the speed of people. Right. What was the pace of that, or I should say, the speed of non-vehicular things, non-motorized things.
Well, and in racing they do have pace cars.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay, so. Let me look online and see.
I think for the most part they are interchangeable.
I think so too. I think I would say that.
You just have to, say what kind of speed it is and what kind of pace it is.
I think speed is more common.
Yes.
I think that in many cases, speed and pace are interchangeable, but the majority of time what we're talking about we're talking about the word speed. Pace is used in...
Pace is a lot of the time, I think, used in to look at an overall, what was his pace for the race.
So this says pace is measured as time per distance and speed is measured as distance per time.
Well, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Right. It does, but again... Who cares?
Yeah, it's still confusing. It's confusing.
That's one of those ones where there is no, unless you are in a very specific industry where you need to have a difference between those two things, then it doesn't matter. Yeah. So, for example, to pace someone is a verb that means to keep at the same speed as someone else. So, for example, sometimes in America, the police might pull you over because they were pacing behind you, which means they want to know how fast you're going. They think you're going too fast. So you're going 100 miles an hour. So they come up behind you at 100 miles an hour. And once they see that you're at the same speed as they are pacing you. And if they hold that for 3 seconds, I think that is enough for them to go to court and say you were speeding.
That's
right?
proof.
You're proof,
in
right?
their eyes,
and so in that case, pacing someone is to find out their speed, to find out the pace that they're going. Okay? But again, in rare situations, if you're in NASCAR racing, then pace and speed have some differences.
Yeah, and that's the only thing I was thinking. In racing is the only time you're really going to see a big difference
between
and
those
it's not
words.
even a big difference in those words.
But in most cases, you're looking for the word speed.
Yes.
Yeah. What's the difference between accent and pronunciation? Pronunciation is a general term that describes the standard sounding of a word. And accent is a word that describes a regional or cultural difference in the way you speak.
Yeah. In Scotland, they might say, it's September.
Right.
But here we say September.
Right.
But both are correct.
They're accents, and they both involve pronunciation, right?
They do.
It's the changing of pronunciation based on regional effect.
Yeah. And that's why Mark goes on about how, your accent is not important. The pronunciation is what's really important, because if we can understand you, clarity is what's important.
That's right.
If we can understand it, then the accent doesn't matter as much.
Some accents have more clarity than other accents, right? So our accent is pretty clear to most people. Right,
especially compared to Scottish people.
That's right.
Yeah.
But if you have a heavy Bronx, New York accent or something, then that might be harder for you, or a Texas accent. That the pronunciation might be harder for you to understand.
That's like in the South, instead of saying siren, they say siren.
You feel a strong sense of loneliness after a day's work. How can I do it well? Find something you love and do it outside of work. If you don't love your work, and many people don't, then you need to find things outside of work that you do love and pursue them.
Yeah. And you're not lonely. We're here.
Mr. DK, you deleted your previous idea and you want to create a new idea, but you cannot. I can't help you with that, Mr. DK. You need to message HelloTalk about that. I have nothing to do with any of that. You have to message HelloTalk and tell them that you're having trouble making a new account. They'll figure it out. Okay? You got to message HelloTalk. I can't help you with that. Okay? And hello, Nelly Ramirez. Okay. Oh, you sent me a message, Ron. Okay, great. Yes, I have some questions too as well. I will get back to you as soon as I can, Ron. And Rahul says accent refers to a unique way a person or group pronounces something.
Words, maybe.
Right. Again, but Rahul, we're not talking about linguistics. We're talking about language learning, which is not the same thing.
Right.
Linguistics is the study of languages and how they become, right? How do they get started? How do they form? What are the creational elements of them? How do they operate? Yeah. Right? The theoretical aspects of a language. Language learning is different. It's not linguistics. Language learning is just learning how to use a language. Yeah. Now, there is some linguistic knowledge needed, usually, to know how to use a language. But
defining things within the linguistic format is not generally helpful.
That's right. Yeah, linguistics is separate from language learning, right? So accent in language learning means a regional way of pronouncing words based on region or culture of some sort, or heritage in some way. Pronunciation refers to the standard sounding of a word or syllable, right? So the way you actually sound things out is pronunciation. Accent has to do with a regional effect or cultural effect on your way of pronouncing things. Okay. Okay, Rahul, now you're just pulling my leg. We're talking about English. Whatever you guys want to ask us about English, we might not answer, but we might. Hello, Song of a Beach.
Hey, Jessica.
Hello, Jessica from the Dominican Republic. You studied linguistics back in your uni. Yeah, linguistics is a funny thing. I have a lot of books about linguistics. Noam Chomsky, I love Noam. And I will say I think I've self-studied linguistics quite a bit, more than most people have. But I do think it's a very, very interesting field in that it lacks practicality.
Yeah.
It's far too theoretical. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have a lot of practical usage, in my opinion.
Right.
I know a lot of people will disagree with me. But
how are you going to apply it?
Right. From a sociological, historical standpoint, linguistics has great value.
Yes.
From a standpoint of practical usage in your life, linguistics does not.
No.
Yeah. Noam is a legend. I love Noam. He's brilliant. Not just on linguistics. Actually, linguistics is the thing that there are some things I actually kind of disagree with him about, but far be it from me to say. But
right.
but anyway, Noam's great. I like him about sociology and history as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do have a YouTube channel. It's right here. I seem to be getting fat. Yeah, I have.
I don't think so.
I have. No, it's all right. I've gotten a little fat. That's all right. It happens. I'm an American.
Well, it's like my buddy, my Vietnamese friend in Colorado. He was always like, he would come back from Vietnam. He'd be like, "Yeah, everyone was calling me fat."
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He was not fat at all.
That's what I say. Like in America, I'm not fat. No, this is not fat in America.
Yeah.
This is actually for my age.
I was gonna say,
for my age, this is actually quite good.
Yeah,
I'm
you can-
svelte.
Yeah, you can.
but
We get the big boys over here in America.
You go to Walmart on a Saturday.
Yeah, the floor might cave in.
Yeah, boom baba is the national. Yeah. Anyway, but in Asia, I'm a sumo wrestler. Oh, and the clothes difference in size too. I don't know. You weren't there long enough, but
I did buy clothes.
Okay,
I went to the markets in Shanghai, and we were buying clothes.
Large is not large.
Well, and no, it's not. And it's funny too, because like I went to one place, and I guess it was more like kind of hip, oversized kind of clothing anyway. But I bought something that said it was a medium, and it's still gigantic on me. But then you'd go to another place, and most of the stuff would be like.
When I was in Taiwan,
it's a large, and it's
whatever.
super
I used to get mediums here. Everything in Asia I had to get large.
Yeah.
Large or bigger because the sizes are different. Yeah.
Just go down to the tailor and get it custom made.
Yeah, Song of the Beach, you know. I'm just,
I'm gonna start smoking cigarettes too. That'll help with the weight.
The Buddha is somebody I admire greatly. That's all. I'm just trying to be more like the Buddha.
Laughing Buddha.
You can't really have true happiness in life without a belly.
That's right.
Never trust a skinny chef. Yeah, I've gained some weight. Yeah, so what? I wear black though. It's slimming.
Well, I mean, I guess it's my American upbringing that I don't.
I know, right? It is, but it's just I'm used to living on the global standard of weight, and that in Bangladesh I'm a fatty. Like if I go to Vietnam, I'm King Kong huge. Yeah. Did you have a pet rock? You discovered it today. You learned about the pet rock, Ornella? Yeah, that was a thing in the 1960s, I think it was. In the 60s, dude made $1 million.
It like went through like it was popular through the 70s. Even,
that's right into the 80s, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, pet rock. They glued some googly eyes onto a rock and then sold them for $3 a piece out of the gravel pit.
That's right. Yeah, which was brilliant, really.
It really was. And you never have to feed it?
It's like the Chia Pet.
Yeah.
It's another one that's like, how?
Yeah. At least the Chia Pet has something alive on it.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
Chia.
Those were, I remember that from when I was a kid in the 90s. It was like Chia Pet everything, They started to branch out into Bob Ross Chia Pet.
That's right. Chia.
Yeah, and it was like the head of a man, too. So it was like, I don't want this to be my pet.
I know, right? Yeah.
This is a person.
Right. You've never seen a pet rock in Italy? We keep them here in America.
Say, well, if you go out to go to the mountain and pick one up, you can have it.
We have special stores in America.
Yeah.
Pet rock stores.
They got to be trained first, and then then it can be a pet rock.
They're dangerous.
Yeah, they've got to be domesticated. Tamagotchi in the 90s. I remember those. Yep. I'm abused a few.
I'm waiting for when they combine the idea of the Tamagotchi with AI.
Wow, I'm sure they have already.
Where you have an AI creature that will die if you don't talk to it or whatever.
Honestly, I do think that has. I want to say I saw something similar to that anyway. Yeah.
That's an interesting idea. An AI that requires your attention.
Yeah, and then in the 90s...
Because right now, AIs are basically just like You know, it's there when you want to talk to it. It has no sense of time or anything like that.
It doesn't need attention.
Right. You can start a conversation 2 weeks ago and then start it again, and it doesn't know that it was, you know, any difference in time. But what if you did add an element of time that, like, you know, if you don't talk to it within this amount of time, it starts getting angry or upset or, you know.
That would be funny. We had just recently read The Swimmer by John Cheever, which is a really interesting short story from the 60s. But we were talking about how to apply it in modern day, and it would be this, like, AI progressively getting angrier at you sort of thing.
Every time I hear John Cheever, I just think of Seinfeld.
What happened?
In Seinfeld, there's an episode where they go to George's parents and the in-laws. They have a cabin, right? And they go out to the cabin, and it burns down.
And he was there with,
and it was he had the
letters,
from
the
letters
buddy,
from John Cheever,
from John
right? Yeah,
Cheever.
and they had like a love relationship or something.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. He was the only man I ever loved, or something like that.
That's right.
Yeah, John Cheever. Every time I hear that name.
I totally forgot that was the name.
The AI hamster.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard enough time caring for my fish.
If it has AI, I'm going to buy it and try not to kill it again. I need to heal that childhood trauma from killing your Tamagotchi.
No, your Tamagotchi forgives you from Tamagotchi heaven.
I look like a movie producer from Hollywood. I guess that means movie producers are fat.
Well,
but that's better.
I've heard worse.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I've heard much worse.
Harvey Weinstein is not exactly a very svelte guy. You know.
No, I guess he's not a producer anymore.
Not anymore, no. He's a producer of Prison Screams.
Yeah, exactly. Smuggling videos.
That's right, yeah. Anyway. Okay. Would someone like to come talk to us? Would someone like to come on stage and talk to us? Anyone? Raise your hand.
Come on.
If you have an English question, you want to come talk to us? Let's talk to Hamad is new. There's Hamad.
Hello.
Hello, Hamad. How are you?
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Excellent.
Fine, how are you?
We're good. How are you, Hamad?
Nasimba?
Oh, there you
Right.
are. There you are. Ah, are you in Sudan, Hamad? Are you in Sudan?
Hello?
Very big delay, Hamad.
Yes, the connection is bad.
Yeah. Hamad, can you hear me?
Yes, what's that?
Can you hear me? Are you from Sudan?
Yes, I'm from Sudan.
Ah, okay. Welcome. Nice to see you. How are you?
Fine, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Did you have a question for us? Do you
What's
want to?
your name?
My name is Teacher Mark, and this is Teacher Clay.
Teacher Mark. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Do you have any questions for us about
Where
English?
are you from? Where are you from?
We're Americans. We're from the United States.
Yes, I have a question.
Okay. Go ahead.
I have question. I am not speak English very well, but I have question between do you and are you?
Do you and are you? Let's see.
Yeah,
So,
what is different?
mm-hmm.
Okay.
One moment. Let's see.
Okay.
So, here we go. So when the verb indicates an action, we usually use do, right? So if you're talking about an action, then we say do, right? So
Do
we
you
could say,
play basketball?
right? Do you like cricket? Do you like
Yeah.
baseball? Do you want me to answer you? Do you want to go there? Do they go there regularly? So do is usually indicating an action, okay? And are is indicating a state or situation.
Are you tired?
Are you tired? Are you hungry? Are you happy? Right. So the only time when that changes is if you say, "Are you going?"
Yeah.
Because then once you add "go," now you have an action, right? So do you want to? Do you like? Do you? Those are talking about actions, right? And are is talking about states or situations.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it just takes practice. It just takes practice. Okay. But the truth is, if you make a mistake, probably doesn't matter.
Okay.
If you make a mistake and you say, are you like basketball?
Yeah, or are you playing? Yeah,
Right, yeah.
that works.
Right,
Actually.
right.
Yeah,
If you say, are you like basketball, I will know what you mean. Mm-hmm. Right? So it should be, do you like basketball? But I'll still know
Yes.
what you mean. Right? So don't worry too much.
and it's like you say about people who are active listeners. You know, who are if they're actually listening to you and trying to understand you, then that's not a huge deal. But yeah, the correct way would be the way that he laid it out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So do is talking about actions that you do, and
Yeah.
are is talking about
States.
states that you're in usually. Usually. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions, Hamad?
Great. Thank you. God bless you.
Yes. Thank you.
No problem.
No, I didn't have question. If I have question, I will tell you. Okay.
Okay, great.
Okay.
All right, well, Hamad,
Okay,
thank
God
you
bless you.
thank you for coming on my stage.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Bye-bye. Okay, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. God bless you.
Let's see. Both of us have a bad network. I don't think I do.
No, I think ours is probably okay.
Yeah, I think it's just him. How to get to the next level when you're at intermediate level? Ayub wants to know. That's a good question.
Jump.
Do you have any answers for that?
I don't really know. I would say, the eight areas that you always talk about.
Well, when people ask me about getting to the next level, usually what I tell them is there's two pieces of advice that I give. One is how are you studying?
Right.
If you're only studying with one thing, like a book or a video or something like that, or all you do is use YouTube, then that's your problem.
You gotta
is
change
that
it up, yeah.
you only have one method of learning something, so that's why you're not moving up and continuing to grow. You just have one. You don't have enough input, right? So. Sometimes the problem when people are stuck is because they just are not getting enough input, right? So they need more input. And then the other problem is that they focus on the easy things and not on the difficult things. Because it's nice when you do
Right.
fun, easy things and you feel good about it. It's like, yay, I can do
Yeah.
it. But when you do difficult things, you feel bad. So people avoid doing
Right.
the difficult things. So if you
Which is what takes you to the next level.
that's right.
Yeah.
If you want to combine those two ideas, one idea is that in order to be better, you have to work on the things that you are not good at. That's one idea. And then two is you need as many ways to learn as possible, not just one. So have books and movies and TVs and TV shows and videos and apps and live streams and teachers and friends and tutors and anything that you can get to help you learn, you should get.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, yes, then I would go to the next part, which is to break down the 8 different areas of language and make sure you have a solid plan for each of them. And if you have a plan for each of those areas and you're working on them, then you should be making progress. Yeah. So that's when people ask me about stagnating or plateauing
it's
or whatever,
because they're only using one sort of material
that and then they're not focusing on their weaknesses.
Right.
Yeah. I sometimes liken it to if you went to the backyard and painted the mountain in your backyard every day from the same spot, you get really good at doing that.
Yeah.
But then if you really want to study that mountain, then you need to walk down the road.
Right. Or if you try to paint a fruit bowl.
Right. Right.
Now it's
or take pictures of it. Do something different instead of painting all the time. Right. Draw it, paint it. Walk down the street and see a different angle.
Right.
You have to approach it differently if you really want to learn it. Okay. Do you have to take lessons or can you do it yourself? So anything in life in general can be learned by yourself, but it can be learned with a teacher more easily.
Yeah.
That's really the thing. Teachers are guides. They can guide you there, right? So if I say, can you come to a new city by yourself with no help? Yeah, you can, right? If you come to New York City, you've never been to New York City, can you do it yourself? Of course you can. But if I were there and I could be your guide, then that would certainly be better.
Yeah.
Right? It would be easier if you had a guide in New York City than just being there by yourself with no clue. Right? So the same thing is true with teaching. Can you learn it by yourself? Of course you can, and you should. Everybody in this world should be self-studying their entire lives. Whatever you want to study, but you should never stop learning, right? So, but if you find a good teacher can help you find the path more quickly, help you get through the obstacles on those paths more quickly and easily, and help you feel like you know where you're going.
Yeah, because a teacher will know the path.
That's right.
And they, it's just much
if
more
you don't know where you're going, then you're you may circle
like
back a few choosing times, a direction in the desert. You don't know. Maybe you maybe covered the wrong area or something by yourself. So I studied Chinese mostly by myself, but I went to Chinese university for 6 months just to find out if I was doing any did I get off the path a little bit? Did I miss anything? Right? So you can learn it by yourself, but a teacher makes everything easier, or a good teacher, I should say.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Ornella.
I would say online lessons are as effective as the teacher.
Or the student. Yeah,
yes,
Ayub, online lessons are as good as, one, you make them. As a student, right, Harvard is a good university, but only if you make it a good university, right? I could go to Harvard and do nothing and then not do well, right? But if I go to Harvard and I care and I really try hard, then I should be able to do well, right? So online lessons, same thing. If you care and you try, then online lessons can be very effective and very useful. Of course they can. But then it also depends on who you're studying with, too. You have to find a good teacher, not just a teacher.
Right.
Hi, I'm a good teacher. You can hire me. You can pay me.
That's right.
And I'd be happy to help you. So go to my website and you can get lessons. Although at 9 in the morning, the thing that I'm worst at is explaining
grammar.
Yeah,
Me
right.
too.
Yeah. I'm terrible at it when I first wake up in the morning. That might be like there's a special level of hell designed just for me. It's like always 9:15 in the morning, and it's like 7 in the morning. It's always 7 a.m. and it's a litany of grammar questions for me to answer.
That's like in The Sopranos when Chrissy is playing poker against the Irishman and he always loses, and that's Italian hell.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
And then he's like, it was just purgatory.
That's right. Yeah, purgatory.
Yeah. I could do 10,000 years standing on my head.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk to Panda Man.
Panda Man.
That reminds me of an old. What was that? There was an old song called Banana Man.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
Banana Man, yeah. It's been a long time.
Hello, Panda Man. How are you?
Hello.
Hello, how are
Hi.
you? Nice to meet you.
I'm good. Yeah, nice to meet you, Mark. And
Clay.
sorry, sorry.
Clay.
Please say
This
again.
is Mark and Clay.
Clay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So thank you guys for having me. And yeah, it's a very good opportunity for me to practice with you guys. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I see you're in Canada. Are you living there now, or did you visit there, or what are you?
Yeah, I've lived here for almost 10 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
Where are you from
Yes.
originally? In China, where?
From China, yeah, southwestern China.
Okay. All right.
That's the province of Guizhou.
Huizhou.
I don't know
Okay.
if you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, great. And what can we do for you today? Do you have any questions for us, or anything we can help you with?
Oh, yes, yeah, and yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity. And you know what? This is, yeah, of course, for practicing English purpose, but I'm very interested in your live stream setup. The microphone, computer cable, the headphones. So may I ask questions about this?
Sure. Why not? Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I can see you have your camera, let's say, same mounted
Yeah.
in a different place.
That's right, yeah.
So is that a USB camera or is it a built-in camera?
It's a USB camera. Yeah, it's a USB. I just have a really long 6-foot USB cable, and I go over to a tripod that I have. And I told people earlier, I would love to have the camera right in front of us where we can look at the camera, but the way Hello Talk has their cameras, if I put it right in front of us, it's too close, and we have to be really close, tight to each other for everybody to see. So I put it far away and at an angle so that they can see both of us at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just
Okay.
it's a Logitech 922C camera, I think is the model.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's
I
not
know
bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And okay, that's pretty cool. The picture, yeah, it looks very good. I also I see you guys are using two sets of
Headphones,
for
yeah.
each of you, right? So how do you get the headphones connected to the same audio source?
I have a mixer. I have a digital USB mixer that's plugged into my computer. So my microphones and the headphones all come into the mixer, and the mixer goes into the computer. So it's a mixer made by the company Behringer, and it's called Flow 8, Flow 8. It's called the Flow 8 digital mixer. But any USB mixer really should do the job. As soon as you connect the USB mixer to your computer, you just tell your computer to use that audio, right? To switch the audio to the mixer USB port, and then anything going into the mixer is going to go into your computer, right? So that's why we have two microphones plugged in there. I can have up to 8 different things plugged in at once on that mixer. It's 8 channels. And it's digital, and I have this lovely iPad that has all my tracks on it for me to just do it all here on the iPad while we're working.
So let's say if you play any music on the iPad, so the music also go into the mixer. And
if I play music on my computer, I can play music on my Spotify from my computer, and that's also going through the mixer. Yeah, so I can play music or anything from my computer, and it will go through the mixer. I could do it from the iPad too, but it makes more sense to do it directly from the computer because that's where it's routed.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, no wonder sometimes, when I hear you play music, the quality of the sound sounds so good.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a good. That's
Yeah.
because I'm a musician.
He's
so-
basically a sound engineer.
Yeah,
so
I've been, when I decided to do this as a teacher, I'm an English teacher, but I'm also a musician. So I knew that one thing I could do that would give me an advantage over everyone else is to have the highest quality sound possible. Right. So, and I already know, I had half the equipment already. I just needed to get a couple of things and plug it all into my computer and get a decent camera. And now you have good audio and video quality. Yeah. And these are studio headphones that we use.
These are nice.
Yeah. They're really nice, comfortable studio headphones. That I
just
use.
realized that I have to go.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. The time.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry about that.
It's my fault. I should have realized. Sorry, it was nice to meet you,
Oh.
Panda Man.
Yeah, he has
I
to
gotta
go,
to
but
work.
I'll be here. Just wait 1
Mark's
second.
gonna stay. Bye, everybody.
Okay. So,
You're bye,
thank you.
Panda Man.
Put your cables there. Yes, sir. Watch that one there,
See you,
too.
Mark.
Yeah, take care, man.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah,
See
let me
you
put the-
Friday for sure.
Yeah, all right, take care. Okay.
Okay. So.
So now I have the camera back in front.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess when you are wearing those headphones, you can hear us, but you cannot hear yourself. Is that right?
No, I can hear myself. Yeah, it's great actually. It's really great because I can hear both. That way I can make sure that the quality of my voice sounds good too. And then that mixer also gives me the ability to add special effects to what I'm doing, right? So if I want to add some reverb like this, I can. Or I can compress the sound. I always compress the sound quite a bit, which is a radio trick to make your voice sound better, is to put heavy compression on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then your own voice also comes out from both
Yeah.
headphones?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's
That way you
cool,
can
that's
check the
cool.
quality of your own voice, and make sure it sounds clear. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one thing a normal setup cannot provide.
That's right. Yeah. If you plug in directly from the computer, then you're only going to hear the audio from other people, but not from you.
Yeah.
Right. But this gives you, it's called monitoring in audio when you're doing music. Your ability to hear your own sound is called your ability to monitor your sound, to check it, to see is it good or not. Because if you can't monitor your sound, then you don't know if what you're doing is good quality when you get it. But if I can hear it here, then I know it sounds good for you too.
Yeah. That's good. So I also noticed that your headphones are wired one, right?
Yeah.
And
I prefer
also-
wired. I prefer wired to wireless. I hate cables, but well, I've been using these types of headphones for like 20 years. This pair of headphones has been around for a long time, and they're so good and so comfortable. Studio headphones for doing music and recording are designed to be two things. One, very high quality sound, and two, very comfortable to wear for a long time, because when you're a musician and you're recording, you might be in the studio for 10 or 12 hours and you have to have these on your head. So the cushions are very, very comfortable and soft, and the sound quality is very, very high.
That's right. Yeah. So I also noticed that in some of the music videos, right? So those singers, musicians, they're also wearing wired headphones. So
It's
I'm
because
curious,
of the quality
is that-
and also because of latency. Latency is yeah. So latency everybody means there's a delay. So for example, if you use Bluetooth headphones, that means the sound is coming through Bluetooth. If there's Bluetooth, that means there's going to be a slight bit of latency, a delay in the sound. And when you're doing anything with recording, you can have no latency. That doesn't work. If you're trying to play piano and when you hit the keys, the sound comes out a second later, that doesn't work. You can't play that way, So that's why we usually prefer wired, because then there's no latency.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. It has to be
That's
precise,
right. That's right. That's
At
right.
exactly the same
Instant.
time.
That's right.
Yeah.
Instant.
All
That's
the-
right. Yeah, and everybody was wondering what these are called. The company's called Beyerdynamic, and the model number is DT770, the DT770 model. And those come in 3 different kinds. I think you can change the ohms, like what ohms they are on the phone, and that's a very specific thing that only is usually something that audio engineers will care about. Like only they really know what the difference is between this ohms and that ohms.
Okay.
You know, most people don't care.
Yeah, sorry, Mark. What does ohm means? Is that the terminology?
Yeah, ohm is in Chinese, just omu.
Oh. So
It's a kind of it's an electrical current sound thing. Yeah.
That's right.
Right. Yeah.
It's a technical term.
That's right. It's a technical term. Yeah. So this is a Electro Voice RE20 microphone. It's a very standard broadcast microphone. I think this microphone came out in like 1967 or something like that, and it's been a standard broadcast microphone for that long. It's one of the most popular broadcast microphones in the industry. This one, and there's another one called the Shure SM7B. Those are the 2 most common microphones that you'll see on TV or movies or anything where people doing broadcasting.
I see.
They almost always have one of these.
Yeah, for amateur, I often see people recommend the one called Blue or something, right?
Blue is a company. Yeah, Blue is a company. They make a bunch of digital microphones mostly. What was it called? The Blue. I can't remember the name now, but they have one called the Snowball. There's a bunch of them that are, they're not bad. They're pretty good. Yeah. If I was on a cheaper budget, then that would be what I would do. But most of their microphones, I think, are USB microphones, and I prefer XLR microphones. I think the sound quality is a little bit better.
I see.
XLR is the kind of like a microphone cable. Has the 3 prongs that goes into it. That's called an XLR cable. Yeah.
I see. So is there any difference for microphone for broadcasting and singing?
Tremendous difference. Yeah. There are some broadcast microphones that are. This is also a good singing microphone. This is a famous microphone for singing as well. Broadcast microphones and singing microphones are usually both large diaphragm condenser microphones, which means this actually is not. This is a large diaphragm dynamic microphone. But there are 2 types of microphones. Well, there are 2 main kinds of microphones: dynamic microphones and condenser microphones.
Okay.
And most singers usually use large diaphragm condenser microphones when they're singing, and they're usually quite expensive.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, for a good singing microphone. This microphone here is a singing microphone. This is the most popular singing microphone of all time for live performances. If you're in a live, like a bar or whatever, this is called the SM58, the Shure SM58, and it's the most popular microphone forever for around the world for singing on stage. So it's a good one for just on stage. But if you're in a studio and you're trying to record, the quality is usually a lot higher than that. Yeah.
You mean in a studio, the microphone you just showed me is not good enough?
Yeah, they might have those, but they rarely use them for something like a singing track. They might use them for something else, but not for a main vocalist. They usually have a much higher quality microphone. In a good studio, will have many thousands of dollars in microphones. And the vocal microphones, they usually have a handful, maybe 5 or even 10 decent, good vocal microphones, and one of those microphones could be $3,000 or $4,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or more. Yeah, it depends. Yeah, it depends on how big the studio is and how good the studio is. But this one here is, I think, something like maybe 500.
Oh,
yeah.
That's the price of a computer.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, by the way, yeah, I'm just using this very cheap
That's okay.
Sony Bluetooth
Yeah.
speaker, and also with a built-in microphone.
That
So,
looks nice.
how do I sound on your side? Because I have no idea how.
Actually, pretty good, to be honest with you. Especially when you get a little bit closer, I can hear more low pitch in your voice, that means the microphone quality is better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, I have no idea how.
No,
I
it's pretty
sound
good
like, but-
actually. You sound better than most people do. Most people, when they come on my stream, they're just using their microphone from their phone, and that is going to pick up a lot of the room noise, right? So when you're in a room, if the walls are very hard, then there'll be reverb and it's not clear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so usually I can't hear people as well because there's so much room noise.
Yeah. So is that kind of a noise called what is the name? Symbian.
Ambient.
Ambient.
Yeah, ambient noise. That's right.
Is it called ambient?
That's
ambient.
sound.
Noise?
That's right. The ambience.
Ambient sound.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So yeah, Mark. Thank you very much for teaching me all of this
You're welcome.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I can go down and let other people up
Okay.
to practice with you.
Yeah, most people when they
Thank you
do
very
live
much.
streams, they use their phone to do a live stream, but I use my computer. So I'm using if you know the tricky way, there's a tricky way that I can basically I copy the link to my live stream and then I open it in a browser on my computer. And then I can scan the QR code and log into my computer.
Yeah, I know this one.
Okay, all right, good.
Yeah, I know this one.
And then I just run everything into my mixer, and that way I can have good quality production.
Yeah. I know. We have a way to do live
streams with the
on
computer. Right, yeah.
But just it takes a little bit more steps.
That's
So,
right. Yeah. Yep. All right.
Okay, yeah.
Well, thank
So
you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. Take care, my friend. I'll
have a
see you
great
next
day.
time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
I do have a YouTube channel, and if you go to it, you'll see me not so fat. I love how everybody's telling me I'm chubby. Yeah, I know, but remember, I live in America. In America, still skinny. By American standards, I should eat more. Do I know the best way to get a U.S. visa? No, I'm sorry, Ayub, I don't. I don't know anything about that kind of stuff, about visas or anything. You're moving to America then. I'm telling you, that's the way it is. If you want to, that's that's the old joke. The old joke is, that every girl has a fat friend that they have just to make them look better. Right? I know it's rude. That's really mean to say. That's so mean. But that's the old joke that we have, is that every girl has a fat friend to make them look better. Right? Well, if you come to America, then we're the fat friend. Like we're all fat. We'll make you look good. Yeah. But by American standards, I'm still not too fat. Hello, Antoine. Is it Antoine or Antoine? I'm not sure. You want to talk to me, but you don't want to show your face, so you don't have to turn on the camera. Mitty, we don't talk about politics here, and we definitely don't talk about scumbags either. And one of those two characters is a complete scumbag. That's all I will say. You figure out which one. Hey, Victor, there you are. Hello, Victor. Yeah, scumbag. Look it up. Fairy Tale, if you want to come on stage, raise your hand and I will bring you up, and I can turn off your camera as soon as you come on stage so no one will see you. That is a useful vocabulary word. Scumbag. Scumbag. It's a good one. It means a very bad person. These are Beyerdynamic DT770s. DT770. Let me see something. Oh, that's an interesting one. Is that right? Well, Jada just Baby Shaoran is your scumbag. Baby Shaoran. Hello, Miriam. How are you? Thank you, Caitlin. Are you sure my voice doesn't sound a little fat? I think my voice sounds a little fat. The weather. What's the weather like today right here? The weather is, looks like it's a little bit cloudy today. Not too hot. It's starting to be fall here. It's starting to be fall. Yeah, despicable. That would be a nice way to say scumbag. Yeah. You heard it as baby shower. Why do some native speakers try to make their accents difficult to understand while your accent is amazing and understandable? Two things. One, I'm an English teacher. It's my job to speak well. And if you notice, I move my mouth a lot. I enunciate a lot on purpose because I'm trying to sound clear. Most natives do not try to sound like anything when they speak. They speak the way they naturally do, which means they may have an accent, and that accent may not be very clear for you to understand. Okay? But it's not like they're trying to be difficult to understand, usually. 99% of the time, that's the natural way they speak where they're from. Okay? But in my case, where I'm from, this is the way we speak, and I try to pronounce my words more clearly than most people do because it's my job. Yeah. How to talk about the importance of sports. Mimi, I'm not a big sports guy. So I don't really find them to be that important, to be honest with you. You had a fantastic weekend. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm not a big sports guy, Victor. I don't have time in my life for sports. It just doesn't seem that important to me or interesting to me anymore. When I was younger, I used to like to watch American football and baseball sometimes. And when I was a boy, I played soccer and baseball. I did some sports, basketball. But at this stage in my life, I have too many things to do. I have too many things that I'm interested in. And sports I don't really see the point anymore. It's just a game, and it's one that I don't want to take that seriously. That's really the point, is that if it's just a game, and I feel it is, then I'm not going to take it that seriously. So I understand the tremendous effort it takes to become an amazing sports player, in whatever sport you're in. But I also think that it's weird that the highest paid person at a university is the football coach. That's weird to me. I don't want to live in that world. The highest paid university or the highest paid person in a university should not be the coach of the football team. It should be one of the professors who's teaching something of great value. So yeah, not a big sports guy anymore. Yeah. I'm doing okay. How are you? I don't have a favorite country. Do you think with 3,000 phrases you can speak English? With 3,000 phrases, you can definitely speak English with 3,000 phrases. Now, you won't be able to say everything, but you can say some things. Sure, absolutely. Sharuk says, I think sports are very important. Okay. Right. For health benefits, I can see how being in shape is important, but I don't see how sports has anything to do with that. You can be in shape and not play any sports. I'm not a big basketball fan. Basketball kind of bores me, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't know. How can you pronounce R's? Well, Noor, you're from Pakistan, so you have a Pakistani kind of accent, kind of like the Indian accent, where the R sound is one of the most important ones. If you're Arabic or Pakistani, or if you're an Arabic speaker or Pakistani Urdu speaker or Hindi Indian speaker, then your R sounds are probably something you need to work on. Work on the word car, car, car. The hard C in the front of it makes it easier to say the sound, I believe. So practice the word car as much as you can and make that sound of the R long. Car. Make it long. Okay? Hello, Teacher Angie. Good to see you. Am I big on the gym? No, I'm not. No, I'm not a gym guy at all. No. Full body stretching routines. I like to do them when I wake up in the morning. When I wake up in the morning, my favorite, like if I could add a competitive sport to the Olympics, I would add competitive yawning. Right? Like when you wake up in the morning and you're like, I want to see that competition. I want to see a competition for competitive yawning and stretching. I'm good at that. How to talk about the importance of NGOs. Why do you want to talk about the importance of NGOs? NGOs can be important. Not all NGOs are equal, in my opinion. You think I'm 56? Wow. Wow. Okay. Man, I do need to lose weight. I'm not 56. Anyone else want to guess how old I am? I like those answers better. I just turned 49. So there you go. Do I have unhappy moments? All the time. How do I deal with them? Let me think about that. I don't always deal with them. Sometimes they deal with me. If you're a human being, then you have good days and you have bad days. That's it. It doesn't matter what human being you are. All human beings have ups and downs. That's part of life. I think a significant part of life is learning how to get through the downsides. Right? Anybody can get through the upsides, but learning how to survive and push through the dark or down periods in your life is a very important skill to learn. It's not always easy. Talk to someone. That's the most important thing, I would say. You have to find somebody you can trust and talk to them. Yeah, I know what NGOs are, Mimi, but I mean, you know, NGOs can be really important around the world in certain countries to help with certain populations that need extra help in some way, right? So NGOs, depending on the NGO, they have different purposes and different goals that they serve, right? So they can be good, yeah. What is my profession? Professional smartass. You have a question about me. What's your question about me? I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. You think I play drums when I'm unhappy? That would be true. Yeah, I often do play drums when I'm unhappy. Do I hope to go back in time? I would like to. That would be great if I could. If I talked to somebody in my family, then I had to realize that oh, yeah, right. So that's why, Spectre or Miriam, that's why I have a therapist, and I like having a therapist. It's great because you can trust them. You can say anything you want to them, and they can't say it to anyone. It's their job to keep it secret and quiet. So get a therapist. It's worth it. Everybody should have a therapist. I truly, truly believe that. If the world were really a great place, then everybody would have a professional person to talk to. Yeah. You need to practice your English. Okay, well, that's what everybody here is trying to do. What's your question about me? You said you had a question about me. Hopefully therapy will become affordable someday. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. It is ridiculously unaffordable. I'm really lucky. My therapist really likes me, and he's actually helping me pro bono. Pro bono is a Latin term that means for the good. So pro bono work is work you do for no money, just for the good of society. So... yeah, if he weren't doing that, I probably couldn't afford it. Yeah, because it's expensive. You're right. Yeah, and unfortunately, healthcare doesn't usually cover it enough. Healthcare doesn't usually cover it. How many grammar lessons are there in the English language? There's no number, man. Grammar is not a number of rules. It's just a set of rules. So there is no point in knowing how many. You just have to learn. It's like theory, right? It's like learning how to play music, right? So in music, there's what we call music theory. And music theory can be very simple or very complicated. And you can make music with very little music theory. You can create music, beautiful music, with very little music theory, right? Or you can create very complicated music with very complicated music theory that takes a great number of years to study. So English or language can also be studied with a sense of the basic ideas of the rules so that you can create language, or a longer term study of the rules to create advanced language. Okay? What if the therapist has depression and wants to share his unhappiness? They're not allowed to. Yeah, it's a hard part about being a therapist is they're not allowed to talk about their problems ever. They need their own therapist. Yeah. Tell me about your best memory in life until now. Oh, I don't know. That's a big question. I think one of the things I've learned in life is trying not to make memories seem like they're the best. Like, or I guess what I should say is you should try to make every memory the best memory of your life. I know that sounds cliche, but life is better when you try to imagine that you haven't had the best moment of your life yet, that it could still be coming. So you have to be aware and pay attention. Right now, what do I do for a living besides teaching English? Nothing really. I'm also a musician. I'm a drummer. So I do sometimes play music as a form of work, but not much anymore. That used to be my primary job. My main job was just being a drummer. So, yeah. Do we often use inversion? You mean when we say things like, later I'm going to the store, or I'm going to the store later? Yeah. Yeah. Yes, most therapists often do have their own therapy sessions. That's right. Narulo, I know English and I know Chinese, and I can speak a little bit of a bunch of other languages. How can you love yourself? You know, I think it's a funny thing when they say love yourself, because I think you need to both. I think that, life is always both sides of the coin. So I think you need to love yourself and hate yourself. Because loving yourself is about appreciating the good things about you and trying to improve upon them, right? And cherish them. Hating yourself is about disliking the bad things about you and trying to figure out how to improve them, right? So I don't think you should just say, oh, love yourself, love everything you do is great. No, it's not. There are some things you do that are not good, and you should recognize them so that you can fix them, right? So love yourself, yes, but also hate yourself. Because a lot of improvement comes from not being happy with the way you are. Right? So we shouldn't just accept the way we are always, because we should be trying to improve upon it. It's too simple to just say, oh, be happy the way you are. No, you still have lots of improvement to do. Hello, Belen. Good to see you, dear. How are you? I do cook. Yeah, that's true. I do cook. And yes, again, they do use inversion often in the United States. Noor, what should I do to speak English with fluency? You need to practice English more every day, not with speaking. You need to practice English more every day with thinking. Spend at least 50% of your day thinking in English, and then you can speak in English just fine. Okay? If you're not spending time thinking in English, you'll never be able to speak English well. Okay? Thank you, Q47. Am I thirsty? I've got my coffee. I'm almost finished. The issue of the day, no issue. We're dealing with mostly English questions, but we could talk about whatever you want to talk about, as long as it's not politics. Yeah, inversion like in Nolan's Tenet. No, not that one. That's a different inversion. Yeah. Do I know about Uzbekistan? A bit, yeah. I've talked to people there. Yeah. I don't have any advice to win the lottery. Be lucky. That's my advice. If you love yourself too much, you're going to spoil yourself rotten. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It sounds like good and bad of me are trying to fight each other for who is dominating. That is the essence of life. Cancel what you just said. That the good and the bad parts of you are trying to fight each other to see who dominates. That is life. That is life. Everybody is going through a struggle of good and bad within them, to see which aspect is going to win the day that day. And, hopefully when you're finished with this life, you'll be able to say you had more good days than bad days. Yeah. How many verbs do you need to know to speak English? I don't think there's a good way to number that. Mimi, again, I've answered your question a bunch of times about inversion, Mimi. And yes, we use inversion, grammatical inversion, when we say, today I went to the store today. You do that all, that's a kind of inversion, right? You're flipping the words around. And yes, we do that often. Yeah. What do I mean exactly by spending a big part of your day thinking in English? Jamel, I mean, when you walk around and think about what you need to do, why can't you just change the language you're thinking in, and instead of thinking in Arabic, think in English? So don't think I'm hungry in Arabic, think I'm hungry in English. Don't think I need to go to the store in Arabic, think I need to go to the store in English. Spend half your day using your mind as a language practice room to practice English. You practice the language here in your mind by thinking all the things you do in your day in English. That's what I mean. What if I understand 99% in English, but when I need to talk, I don't know what to say? Do I need to think in English too? Does it help? Yes, that's a big part of it. Again, Tanya, if you spend time thinking in English, then you'll feel comfortable using English when you want to speak, because you know what to say. You don't have to translate it or consider what you want to say first. Okay? Your mind is a language practice room. If you're not using it, you're not really practicing language. Okay? How about being aware of unfair advanced sides of individuals? What? Ooh, that's a deep one. Q47. Yeah. Sayaka, I know you want to hear the drums. I don't think I'm going to play drums today, though. But you can go to my YouTube channel, and you can see lots of videos of me playing drums there. How to love someone. That depends on the someone. Not everyone is as lovable. There are some people who are not lovable, and you shouldn't love them. You're a drummer too? Well, nice to meet you, Weird Wagner. I love Brazilian drummers. Have fun with that, Bellin. No, you're not interrupting, Q47. You're fine. In German language, you have a lot of articles, and I often recognize that I use the way too much in English. How can I know when to use the? So the is a definite article, right? So we have indefinite articles and definite articles, right? So an indefinite article is a or an, right? An apple or an umbrella, right? That's an indefinite one, which means give me an umbrella means give me any umbrella. Give me the umbrella means give me that one umbrella. So the as an article can be used with many different parts of the sentence, though, right? So it depends on exactly what you're talking about, right? So I can't give you a general rule for how to use the, because it depends on what kind of, how you're using the article to modify what, right? That's right. Money can't really buy love. Yes, the questions today are quite something. And what level do I put someone who understands me very good? Well, it depends, Jamel. I would say intermediate, at least intermediate. If you understand me pretty well, you're probably about an intermediate level. Am I tired? I'm not tired, no, but I'm just about ready to end my stream here soon. I agree, Q47. Let's talk to Song. Let's talk to a couple people. Let's talk to Song and Miriam.
Hello.
Hello, how are you today?
Hello again. I'm okay. Decided to join, and speaking of articles, I think it's, hey Spectre, it's one of the most difficult parts of English grammar for me as a Russian person, and because my language doesn't have articles.
Right.
And still sometimes I find situations where I do not understand why an article is used. For example, when we study grammar book, it says we do not put an article before like water or some other liquids, right? But then we go and we're having our life in English, and someone says, "I'd like to have a cola." You're like, what? So
right,
yeah.
But when they say a cola, a is indefinite, right? So you're trying to tell someone that you want any cola. You don't care what kind of cola, what size cola, you just want cola, right? You want a cola. And a, in this case, it implies a certain thing, right? Usually when people say a cola, they mean a can of cola or a glass of cola, right?
I know, but I mean, grammatically speaking, it's not correct. However, there is another thing.
It's correct because cola, you think it's not correct because cola is not countable, right?
Yeah.
Right. But cola is countable if you're assuming in their mind they're talking about a can of cola. Once you add the term a can of, now it's a countable thing. So what you have to do is imagine the sentence. There's a part of the sentence that's unspoken. It's implied, right? So the a can of part is implied. When you say, can I have a cola? It should be, can I have a can of cola? That would be the complete sentence where the article is now countable, right? Because you're saying it's a kind, a size, a certain type of. But you could also say, can I have some cola?
Yeah, that would be.
That works
like
too.
In the book. But
Right.
I mean, what I was trying to say is that there is also such a thing as a conventional, like when just it's used in the spoken language, but not in the
Right,
official.
right.
Yeah.
And again, like a lot of English language has become like that, where technically on a test, if somebody said that, they might be wrong. But it's so common. It's kind of like when I was a boy, they always said, how are you doing? I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm always doing well. I'm not doing good. You can't do good. You can only do well. That's what they told me when I was a boy. But over many, 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 many years of people saying, how are you doing? I'm good. How are you doing? I'm good. How are you doing? I'm good. Guess what? They changed the rules, and now I'm good. It's okay. Nobody will say anything wrong with that, right? So the Brits might, but but in America, nobody will care if you say, how are you doing? I'm good. I'm good. But when I was a boy, they told us that was wrong. So in that case, like I said, language kind of colloquializes itself in that sense that there are certain things that become unspoken, unwritten, acceptable, broken rules, right? And what you're talking about, A cola, is one of those, right?
The water
But
as well, I heard
again,
that.
if I say a water, in my mind immediately, I'm already thinking of a container of water of some kind. So I'm talking about a bottle of water or a glass of water, right? So whenever I hear the word a water, the A makes my mind immediately think about an amount, a specific amount of water in some sort of container of some kind. If I say I want some water, now my mind is not clear about how much. I want some water. Some water is an indefinite amount of water. That's the uncountable word for using with water, right? Some water. But like, I want you to understand though, in my mind, when I hear a water or a cola or a soda or a juice, for example, juice. When I hear a juice, I immediately think of a juice box, a box of juice, right? Like a kid drinks. Why? Because once you hear I have to find some container for it in my mind. There's got to be a container. And when you think of juice, I think of juice containers. Oh, there's little juice boxes when you're a kid or something, right? So a juice. But if I were in someone's kitchen and they said, would you like some water? Then, I might say, yeah, I'll have a water. Now, if I say a water, in that case, that would imply either a bottle of water or a glass of water, because I said a water. If I said some water, that's whatever you want to give me, that's water. So there's the indefinite definite.
A lot of depends on the context.
Right.
Here, when it comes to articles, and also when we weren't taught that we actually can omit, a can of soda. We can omit the can. So.
Right. Like I said, it became an implied thing. It's implied, right? Those words, in a grammatical sense, you should say the complete sentence. I'd like a can of cola or a can of cola or a glass of cola. But in a natural setting, we drop those words out and everybody knows what you mean. But like I said, on a test, somebody might ding you on that one. They might say, no, you really need to, no, you can't do that.
Exactly.
But that's where like I said, that's where grammar and me, we, go different ways, because those types of arguments are completely irrelevant and insignificant. They don't matter. They really don't matter at all. If you say, I want water or some water or a water, I know what you want. Like, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. It's not that important. The only thing.
But the reason why I started butt hurting because of it, because they always say, like, you need to, for tests, it's like IELTS tests or whatever tests, they always look for those
Yeah.
minor mistakes. And
I
you
know,
lose your-
right. But what does that tell you about those tests, right? What does that tell you? Those tests are not designed to actually help you at all. They are designed to find the minute, small flaws in your learning. That's not how learning really works. Tests were originally supposed to be learned. We do our best, but they just don't. That's why, you could have one kid who will take a paper test and he'll fail, but you ask him the same questions sitting in front of you and he can answer them, right? There are so many aspects of it psychologically and sociologically and mentally that go into it that testing, is always an imperfect method for determining someone's value in that area. Testing is something that we do to try to see if we can find your knowledge of something at a certain moment in time. But it doesn't really help you as a teacher if you know your students, right? So if one of my students fails his test, do I feel like, oh man, that kid doesn't know English? No, immediately my mind thinks, oh, he knows it, but he screwed up the test. That's most of my students are that way because, I know I could present the information to him in another way and he would be able to answer it and not fail. Right? So, yeah, just remember, testing is an imperfect medium. And it just always will be. It's always going to be an imperfect medium that doesn't do very well. I feel like that my whole life, I've always been that one kid who, when you read the question and it's an A, B, C, D answer, and you want to write like, well, but what if this? You want to write me like, but it could be C or D because if this happened and this happened, then that could, that's me. That's always been me. Is I'm that guy who wants to write like, but what if this? That could be this. Both C and D could be correct. And that's why I've always felt tests are always just, if we wanted to test somebody's ability in language, we should try to let them use the language long enough to see if you can use it or not, right? So a proper test of anything should be over time. But tests, that's why they're not a good medium because they're in a instant in time where you try to determine your ability to use that knowledge or your familiarity with knowledge. It's at an instant in time. That's not how knowledge works. Knowledge is not something that you know based on an instant in time. It's not something you memorize. It's something you do. So that's why for me, I don't care about tests. When my students tell me they got a bad grade on their test, I don't worry. Most of the time, because if I know that student, then I know you know this material. Okay, so you got that bad test grade. It's okay. No worries. I got lots of bad test grades when I was younger. So don't worry too much about those things. Yeah. And your English is good. Both of you guys. You guys need to stop worrying about these little minute details, the minutia.
I taught myself English, all myself, and I did it very randomly, just speaking with my little knowledge and texting with foreigners who didn't know English that good, And now I feel like I want to elevate and I want to, make the diamond prettier. And usually, how I learn is, I watch movies and I just repeat the way they said it. That's the way I learn. But when it comes to articles, I struggle in every language I speak.
Yeah.
Especially, German is very, very strong in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, it is Hungarian. And Hungarian...
I've heard Hungarian is really hard.
It is so hard.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Even though you have you have 3 formal language in Hungarian and 1 form. No. three formal and one informal. And yeah, so many endings, and when you change this little, and then you have another like ending, and it drives me crazy.
And
Like,
I would say that English grammar is very much influenced by German grammar. That's probably the primary influence of English grammar is German grammar, which is why that the articles are also difficult in German grammar. Those are the two probably most the biggest influences on English grammar is German and Latin. Those two are probably the most important things that affect the way we speak. But
As
just
someone who
remember
studied
minutia.
linguistics and etymology.
Yeah, right. Well,
I can say you're correct, because we had a class. I remember we needed to compare and get familiar with a text in English from 1,000 years ago, and I was absolutely mesmerized with the fact that it looked so much like German.
right.
And this is where all these irregular verbs come from as well, and many other things.
Right. I mean, even when we translate certain phrases, Guten Tag, good day, we still say good day. We say it just like,
Or-
they did.
garden.
Yeah, kindergarten, right. Again, yeah. There's a bunch of them that are that way, Yeah.
By
But-
the way, Mark, in your opinion, English is a Roman language or
It's
German?
Germanic.
Germanic.
It's Germanic. Yeah, it's Germanic. It's.
It is.
I mean, this is always such a funny argument to make because it depends on what time period you choose as to how you really assess its origin, right? So what I mean is, for example, in the very beginning, it's Germanic. Why? Because the two tribes that formed it, or two or three tribes that formed it originally, came from an area that we call Germanic Northern Europe, right? So there was the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jutes. And those three groups lived in what we now would call Northern Europe, right? And then they all got on boats and went across over to England, and they mixed with the local population that was in England, the Celtic, Druidic population that was there, and that became the early Angles, right? The English groups, the 5 tribes of the different island, right? And so, but then again, on the other hand, where do those Germanic tribes come from? Where do their languages come from? Before that is PIE, which is Proto-Indo-European, right? So almost all the languages of Europe derive before that from kind of a region in Central Europe, Asia. That's what we call the origin of the Proto-Indo-European languages, that predates even English. But then if you go later, right, the Roman Empire was the largest empire at the time when English was really being created. The Roman Empire was the largest empire at that time. So because the Roman Empire was the largest empire and the Christian religion was the most powerful religion in that area, Latin had a very huge effect on the use and progression and popularity and influence of the language, right? So Germanic is arguably when English begins, you can call it a Germanic language. Prior to that, it would be something else. But then, a few years later, not too much longer beyond that, I would say that Latin became the dominating influence, not German, because everything was Latin. Everything of any value, of any power and control was Latin outside of England, right? And so England still had multiple languages at that time, right? So those tribes still spoke a few different variations of English among themselves, right? That, like I said, history is one of those things where you're taking a picture of an area and you're trying to do the best you can to see all of the picture, but you can never see all of the picture. And so you do your best to describe a time based on what you know, right? And language is like that. Do we know for sure how the language 100% was created or evolved? No, not really. We have a lot of information about it, but we don't, we weren't there, and we're judging based on looking back on it from the past. Like in the past, we're trying to judge it based on what we know now, right? But history is always something where there's part of the picture that you don't know. There's part of the story you don't really know. You have to fill in the gaps, right? That's like etymology. Like there are some words we know exactly where it came from, but there are some words we're not really sure. It could be here, it could be there, it could be there. There's a few different possible stories where it could come from. And, that's one thing I like about history is it is his story. It's got the word story in there for a reason. You're telling a story. That's what it is. History is a story being told, right? That's what they used to say is, look, for the majority of this planet, it's always been a man's world, right? Well, that's why we don't call it herstory, we call it history. Right? So it's not her story, it's his story. and when you look at history, that's the way it is. It's man dominated for the most of our society, right? So but the point is it's a picture that's never clear. It's always being reformed and reevaluated based on the knowledge we have. And still, it's like science. It's always debated and argued too, right? There are still people who will argue about, well, no, it's more Germanic than it is Latin, or it's more Latin than it is Germanic, or it's more influenced by, this or that. French, French has another huge influence on the language.
It historically can be explained because.
Because the English and the French were fighting forever and ever and ever, and they were the two dominant kingdoms or powers in Europe at that time. They were just constantly fighting and warring against each other, England and France. And between two things, between fighting and trading, that's why languages create. So the same thing is true for Norse or Viking influence on the language. Why did we have Norse influence on the language? Two reasons. Because the Vikings used to raid and attack often, and they also used to trade often. And if you want to trade, you need to speak the same language. Somebody's got to be able to communicate. So trading was such a valuable thing for language, right? Everywhere in the world, the first person who was trying to communicate with another person, almost always it was because of trade. They were trying to communicate so they could make a deal. So somebody has to know the language, right? And then the other reason is fighting. Yeah. So those two things end up having a tremendous effect on whatever. But there's a French linguist who he likes to joke that basically English is just French that's badly pronounced. He came out a couple of years ago with an article that basically said that, and I thought it was really funny. I think it was tongue-in-cheek. He was not really serious, but he was just trying to show that actually there is a tremendous influence from French, more than most people recognize. And that's true, but then you also need to remember French is derived from what language? Latin. So there are many words that you can look at and you could say, oh, is that word of French origin or of Latin origin? Technically both, right? Like the word engine. Engine is French, engin meaning clever or smart. But before that, it comes from a Latin word, that also means roughly the same thing. So, there's, like I said, language is fun that way. It's not ever. It's always changing. Our understanding of knowledge is always changing. It's never settled. Same as science, right? Same as science. It's the same thing. The more we know, the more we know. Right? But you have to learn more in order to gain more knowledge about it, right?
Sure.
True.
Yeah. But I love history that way. I love language that way because it is really interesting when you start figuring out which languages had influence on each other. And then if you know about who was trading with who and who was fighting with who, then it all starts making a lot more sense.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, when you learn a language, you never you always will open the door to the culture and what has happened.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Language, food, and music, everybody. I'm telling you, if I could choose 3 things in this world that I would make everyone study, that would be the 3 things that I would make everyone study. Language, food, and music. And I would do it from a global standpoint, not a local standpoint. So my idea that I had when I was like 20 years old, I decided that what I want to do one day is I want to make, let me show you. I have had this globe since I was a boy. It's old. Okay, it's like 40 years old. Okay, and I love globes. There's still something tangible about being able to just spin and just see and look and, whatever. I want to create a digital version of a globe where you can touch any point in the world or multiple points in the world, and like a little holographic screen will pop up and say, okay, pick a time period. Okay, let's say 1850. So 1850 in Russia, 1850 in Africa, and 1850 in America. And you get to see the 3 things that were happening at the same time in 1850 in the world, in that region, and those regions, right? When we study history now, we always study from a cultural standpoint of one area, right? So Asians learn Asian histories, American learns American history, maybe a little European history, Africans learn African history, but we all live on this big blue ball. And it would be better if we were learning history from a standpoint of food, music, and language all around the world simultaneously, not from a standpoint of one time period, one area. That's too small-minded. You can't understand what's going on if you're only looking at that area at that time. You cannot really see what's truly happening. We really need to see the whole picture. So one day I hope that exists, that somebody decides to make like a digital globe that is a history globe that you just look at and you can touch any area and figure out, what was happening during that time period, how it was related to the rest of the world at that time, and specifically with food, music, history, culture in general. Culture.
Yeah, I think that would put an end to all those fights between some nations saying, no, it's our food. No, we want for us to cook
Well, I don't know if it put an end to it. Yeah, but I that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Like pizza, where did pizza come from? Of course, every Italian will say it's from Italy. And if you go to Italy, you would be right to think so, that it looks like that could be. But on the other hand, nearly every country in that area of the Mediterranean has some kind of a flatbread cooked with stuff on it. Right? Almost every area. Greece has a very, very strong claim to the idea that maybe pizza came from there. Who knows? It's so hard to tell. Nobody wrote it down who was the first person to do that, right? It's like the hamburger. We think we know kind of where it came from, but come on. Or the sandwich, right? The word sandwich is named after a guy, the Earl of Sandwich. Right? And this guy, he liked to gamble a lot, right? He would like to play card games all the time. And he never wanted to leave the table. So his servants put some meat between some bread and gave it to him. And that became what we now call a sandwich. Now, does that mean that was the first sandwich ever made? No. That's the first time they used the word sandwich. But meat between bread, that's been done for thousands of years around the world. People have been doing that for a long time. Right? So nobody can really know. But these kinds of arguments about who did it first, again, it's like you're missing the point. Who did it first? Humans. Humans did
That's
it
an
first.
important thing to
Not
remember, yeah.
Italians, not Germans, not French. Humans. That's what we should be focusing on. This idea of it's ours. It's ours, you know. It's like I tell people about Italian food. When I talk about Italian food, what's the first ingredient you think of? In Italian food, what's the first ingredient you tend to think of when you think of Italian food? Anyone?
Pasta.
Okay, good. Belen says tomato.
Then the
Carolina
ingredient
says
would be-
tomato. Jeffrey says pizza. Tomatoes is what I'm looking for, right? Now, when you think about, okay, like for example, the Margherita pizza, the most famous pizza in all of Italy. It's a pizza made with tomatoes, tomato sauce, mozzarella cheese, and basil. That's it. 3 things. Very simple, right? And that's the color of their flag, red, white, and green. And now the question I have is, where are tomatoes from?
Oh, I have no idea. Isn't it Spain?
They're from Mexico.
Ah, yeah.
They're
Don't
from
they
Mexico.
grow in
Tomatoes are from
Italy?
Mexico. So before Columbus went to America, there was no tomatoes. There were no tomatoes in Europe. There were no tomatoes in Italy. So what we think of as Italian food now, we think of tomatoes. But again, before Columbus, there were no tomatoes there. Right? So that's why I said it's kind of a funny thing. And if you go to Mexico, you can get tacos there, right? Lots of different kinds of tacos, right? And one of my favorite kind of tacos is called al pastor tacos. And those are special tacos that they have a big stick, a big metal spike, and they put strips of meat on there, and they pile it up on there, and they cook it around a fire. Does that sound familiar? Like if you have a bunch of meat on a stick and you put it piled up real tall, now you have this big tall thing of meat and it spins around with some fire next to it. Does that sound familiar to you? Oh no, we lost
does.
Miriam. That's like shawarma.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Why? Because guess what? A long time ago, there was a family from Lebanon in the Middle East who moved to Mexico. And they brought that way of cooking to Mexico, and they just changed the ingredients. And now they use the style of cooking from Lebanon with the ingredients from Mexico, and they created a new flavor of taco, which is one of the most famous tacos in the world, the al pastor taco. So like I said, that's why I like to look at the world that way, where, you know, when we talk about like my culture is the best culture, your culture is humanity, dude. You know, stop with this, you know.
I totally agree with your point of view because a month ago I traveled to Indonesia and I was surprised to find the kind of food that I could try. I heard you can try only in Singapore and Malaysia because it is from Malaysia. And that Indonesian guy told me like, no,
Right.
it's our Indonesian
Right.
food.
Yeah, they argue about it, right? This has been happening for a long time, right? Yeah. But here's my question. If you're sitting down to eat a delicious bowl of something, do you care where it's from? No, you care if
not
it's
like I
good.
care. I would say I would be curious, to know.
Yeah, but
about
what
the
I mean,
origins,
what I mean
but-
is just that, like, when you have two people arguing, no, pizza's from Greece, no, pizza's from France, or pizza's from Italy, no, pizza's from Greece, no, pizza's from Italy. I'm just enjoying the pizza, man. I don't care. You know, like, I don't really care one way or the
doesn't
other.
matter.
It doesn't
Right.
really matter. And again, it's kind of a silly argument because who did it first? Who knows? Who knows who put some bread on the ground and threw some stuff on top of it first? Who knows? You know.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I said, that there's some form of sandwich all around the world. So who did it first? Nobody knows. And it's silly to try to really argue about it. You know, now I know for Italians are a perfect example. Italians are some of the most they're the most passionate about their food culture. Like they are extremely, believe me, if you go on Facebook, for example, the difference between American Italian food and real Italian food, you could go on Facebook and find anyone cooking anything Italian in America, and there will be some Italian person on there saying, that's not Italian food. Like, there'll be something like, you don't know Italian food. They are so protective about their food culture, and I understand why. But again, I also would remind them that they live on the same planet, and this idea, like, where does the boundary end? Where's the border end? What if your grandma lived on the border of Italy and another country? Does that mean that she's not Italian and she's half that? So that means that the food she makes is half something. It's a silly argument. It's like, who made rock music? Americans, definitely, but where? I can show you a bunch of songs that happen around the same period. Can I say for sure which one was first? No, I cannot. Classical music. Where's classical music from? Well, there's a lot of countries that did it. Who did it first? I don't know. That's it's not as clear as you'd like to believe. Food and music and culture, these are always things that are nebulous. Nebulous is a good word. It's not fully clear, and it's better to think of it that way. I don't argue about which one is better, rock or jazz. I just like them both. It's not difficult to do. But if you get really attached to one, then you start defending it unnecessarily. And that's what I'm saying about like food culture. It's kind of like that, where people are defending their food culture unnecessarily, where it's like, okay, relax. It's just food. Delicious is delicious, and that's all that matters. And the truth is, for example, what is that thing? Garum. There's something called garum. Garum was the most popular condiment in all of the Roman Empire. During the Roman Empire, if you had food, you probably had a little thing of garum next to it. What is garum? We have recipes that tell you basically what it is. It's basically like a fish sauce. It was like some dried out, what do you call this? Like sardines or some kind of a small fish that they would dry out and then pound and then add a few other things to it, and it became this paste. And they would put it on everything, right? There's a Facebook group I joined that's really interesting, where they have, it's a history cooking site where they try to make recipes from 3,000 years ago to see what it tastes like today. And yeah, right. They follow the recipes as the best they can to try to make things from then.
I think it's impossible.
It is kind of impossible because they didn't write things down very clearly, and some of the ingredients we don't have.
The ingredients are different.
Right. That's right. That's exactly right. So it's hard, but they have been able to do it with some things, and garum is one of the things they did. And the guy tested garum, and he was trying it with all these different things, and for the most part, he thought it was disgusting. He was like, this is just, it smells like and tastes like what it is, which is rotten fish, that's been sitting out drying. And, but if you go to Asia, every Asian country has a fish sauce that's very much like that. That's exactly what it is. It's fermented fish stuff mixed with spices, and they like that. They like that umami flavor, that bitterness. They like that bitterness. I think it's, if I remember right, I think it's spelled Garrum. I think, if I remember right, it's spelled Garrum, garum. Yeah. But my point was just that that's from the Roman Empire, and the Roman Empire is where Italy derives its food from. And I don't know that anybody in Italy, if they made that today, they wouldn't be like, oh, this is delicious. It's still, no, it's not. No, it's not, man. No, that's dried fish, man. That's like, culturally, there's that too. There's, for example, why did they eat dried fish? Why did they eat these fish pastes? Why?
I guess they didn't have better alternatives.
Because fermentation was one of the primary ways of keeping food.
Preserving.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you have a bunch of little fish that are about to go bad, you don't just let them go bad. You turn them into a fermented fish sauce. Right? So everything in the world that was about to go bad, they just found a way to pickle it or turn it into a fermented product or salt it. They smoked it, they salted it, they pickled it, or they fermented it. Those were the 4 ways that they used to do things. And so if you went to any restaurant or tried to eat food in the Roman Empire, you had a bunch of pickled stuff, you had a bunch of, smoked stuff, you had a bunch of salted stuff, and you had a bunch of fermented stuff. Everything was like that. Yogurt, fermented. Cheese, fermented. Alcohol, fermented. Bread, fermented. Those are all fermented products, and it's all about
Having
just,
fridge,
that's right. Not having a fridge. That's exactly right. It's not having a fridge. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly right. Yeah. I love food history, if you can't tell. Yeah. It's a fun topic. It's a fun time. There's a bunch of books that are great to read about that. There's a guy named Tom Standage. He wrote a bunch of books I really like. One is called An Edible History of the World. And the other one that he wrote that I really like is called A History of the World in 6 Glasses. He tells the history of the world based on water and tea and soda and coffee and what else? I can't remember. There were like 6 main drinks around the world. Beer and wine. That's it. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Water, tea, coffee, soda, beer, wine. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, there we go. And it's really interesting. Yeah, and I have another book called The Barbarian's Beverage. And it's all about beer and how beer came to be. And how beer probably came to be because somebody left some fruit or some bread in a jar or a cup with some water in it, and it sat out and fermented and became, and they tried it. Because back then you would eat or drink anything. If it was rotten, you still probably ate it. Yeah, I know. Yeah, but our stomachs were a lot better back then. We would eat spoiled things all the time. But why? We didn't even know that it was spoiled.
Lifespan was way shorter.
It was. That's exactly right. Yeah, because they didn't know about things like bacteria or, largely they didn't know about those things. They didn't know about any of that. Spoiling and whatever. They only knew that... they knew you could get sick and they knew you could die, but they also knew that you don't waste food. So, you ate some food with mold on it all the time. And these days, if your bread has a little tiny piece of mold on it, we go, throw it out. It's all bad. But
it's dangerous to have that.
Yeah, I know. But that's also how we discovered penicillin.
Right.
Yeah.
But I find it funny that you mentioned, that thing about his story, because I've just started reading a book that is called Invisible Women. Mm-hmm. And it's about male cultural bias.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
and how women are completely missing in
absolutely for thousands of years, right?
In school,
For the majority of cultures, there are a few cultures that were matriarchal cultures that gave
they existed,
right?
Which is important to remember.
Yeah, they did, and in those cultures, you can read it's different when you read about those cultures, but the majority, you're right, women were not given any difference at all about their opinion on things, largely. And so...
and speaking of music, by the way, read it about yesterday, even if in the same time period existed a male composer and a female composer, and people who are studying the works that are available right now, and they found out that the author was a woman, they find out that actually their work was like more talented, but the canon, says differently.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
why they consider only the male composers of that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And back then, like, you couldn't even bring it up. Well, a lot of it also had to do with, it has to do with academia. Because academia was also a largely male-dominated, area, and if the professors are all men, they are not going to give any credence or respect to the idea of a woman who comes in with the same thing. They laughed at them. They laughed at them. Even when they were right.
Even make their way there. So.
That's right. Yeah, there's a book about NASA. The girl that worked at NASA, the black woman who worked at NASA, she did almost all the computations that were necessary for us to go to the moon. It's a black woman that nobody ever heard of. And there's a great movie about her, and it's all about that. It's about how when she was working at NASA, she was doing the most important work for NASA about the calculations for us to go to the moon, right? While she's doing that, one day she was late coming back from the bathroom, and she got yelled at. Do you know why she was late? Because she wasn't allowed to go to the bathroom in the same building. They didn't have a bathroom for black women there. She had to go way, way over across the campus to another building to go to the bathroom and then run all the way back. And her boss didn't know that. And one day, she's getting yelled at because she's late, and then she has to explain to him why she's late from going to the bathroom, because she's not allowed to go to the bathroom in this building. Now that had to do not only with women but also race. But it was both. They didn't listen to her. They didn't give her respect enough to say, well, you don't need to go to the bathroom way over there. You're doing important work here. Go to the bathroom here.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What's the name of the movie?
Oh, let's find out. I can't remember. I was just trying to think of that. Movie, NASA, woman. Hidden Figures. It's called Hidden Figures. It's based on a book. There's a book by Margot Lee Shetterly. There were three African American women who were very important at NASA for all of our space program. And yeah, it's a movie called Hidden Figures. When did it come out? It came out in... I'm not sure. It came out not too long ago. I don't know. In the last 10 years, for sure. Yeah. Hidden Figures. Yeah. And like I said, there are dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of examples of that. Here's a good one. Do you know the word hysterical? Hysterical.
I know the word, and I started having flashbacks like where it came from.
Okay. Anybody else know the word hysterical? Do you guys know what that means? If I say she was hysterical, what does that mean?
Showed a lot of emotions.
Right. Yeah.
They were not under her control.
Right. Now, do you know any other words in English that sound or are spelled similarly to hysterical?
Oh, let me think.
Think of a medical word. Do you know what a hysterectomy is?
Well, I assume they come from Latin since they're medical.
You're right about that. Yeah, Greek or Latin, I can't remember. Let me double check here. Hysteria. Hysteria was something that they used to it was a medical term that was used to describe women who couldn't control their emotions. And let's see, it comes from the Greek word hystera, meaning womb, your womb. Okay. And it was a neurotic condition particular to women and thought to be caused by a dysfunction in the uterus. So just the word hysterical itself is a misogynistic term that was used to basically describe, oh, she's just crazy because of her woman parts. That's where the word hysteria comes from. You know, so now when we think of we say mass hysteria, it means just people in general. But a long time ago, the word was actually a defined medical term about women only, not men, only women, to use to discredit them in some way, to say that she's just hysterical. That don't listen to her. Whatever she's saying is babbling. You know, she's just hysterical. And it was like they were blaming it on your woman parts for why you think the way you do. You know, even that word has this same history of misogyny.
Back then they even tried to cure it. So.
Right? Yeah. Or you know, witches. A long time ago,
God,
right?
Don't get me
that's
started.
a whole nother thing. You know, we used to drown them and burn them and throw them in the water to see if they would float and whatever. Why? Because somehow or another they did something that we thought was threatening. Something about their behavior was threatening to the community, so they would claim you're a witch so that they can put power over you and put you in your place. Yeah.
Way to control.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you know, of course, every method of trying to find out if you're a witch would kill you. You know, so that wasn't a very, you know, there's a bunch of movies about that too. Books and movies about that whole situation. Yeah. And you know, even The Scarlet Letter. The book, The Scarlet Letter, you know, which is about a woman, Hester Prynne, who had an affair with a man, and nobody had any problem with the man. The man who did the affair, nobody really cared about him, but she had to wear a big old A on her chest, stitched into her clothing, to tell everybody that she's an adulteress, that she committed this crime of adultery. He can walk around with no problems. Nothing wrong with him. She's an adulteress. Yeah. You know. Yeah.
That's American classics, right? It's fiction.
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Scarlet Letter. Yeah. Great book. Mm-hmm. Well, Song, I think it's about time for me to go.
Sure.
It's about lunchtime for me, but it was great to talk with you again.
Enjoy your lunch.
I always love anything that goes into history. I'm on board. As you can tell, I get that, you know, there's this gleam in my eye that I can sense in my own head when I'm talking about like the past. You know, knowledge of the past is like time travel. If you know enough,
Right.
you're able to take yourself there and try to understand the point in time, and you feel like you do because you have enough information to guess what it would feel like to be a woman during that time period. You know, or
Oh man, when
whatever.
I read about it, I get so angry.
Yeah, I bet.
I need to take
Yeah.
breaks from those books sometimes.
I'm sure. I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine. All right. Well, yeah, it was
anyways.
great to talk with you again. Always welcome. It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Take care. I'll see you next time. Okay, Song? Bye bye. Bukachi. Bye bye. All right. Yeah. So, guys, yeah, it's 12:10, and I've been here for almost 3 hours, so it's time for me to take a break, and I got to go work on my website and do some other stuff too. So if you want to follow me, you can go to my YouTube channel and find lots of great videos there. Or you can also follow my website right there. Okay? Thank you, Belen. Thank you, Elsa. Thank you, everybody, for listening and for watching and for participating and for following and all that good stuff. I appreciate it. I will be back on Friday. So come back and see me again on Friday. Have a good morning, have a good afternoon, have a good evening wherever you live in the world, and don't forget to be a language warrior. I'll see you guys next time, okay? Bye-bye.